Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are around the world, and welcome back to another episode of Sideboard Files. My name's Manuel, I'm your host here on the show. This time we talk about modern Hogaak Vengevine, and I have the pleasure to have here on the show for the first time Julian Nazarenus, who recently qualified for the European Modern Series with the Hogaak Vengevine. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
My pleasure, absolutely my pleasure. And of course, congratulations for your qualification to the European Modern Series.
Thank you very much.
Well done, absolutely. And the list we're going to talk about in this episode, of course, is going to be a list that you actually played there at the qualifier.
Yeah.
So all that we're going to discuss, sideboard options, and also different matchups, your strategy, your sideboard plans, everything's gonna revolve around the list that you played over there. So let's talk about the list straight away. Let's have it on screen. And what I'd like to know from you is what are your, let's say, special slots? What was your tweaking and your tuning for this qualifier?
So shortly before the tournament, Bridge from Below got banned from the deck, so the deck had to adjust. It didn't have the combo kill anymore. So the first thing I was thinking about is that people maybe don't expect Hogaak as much anymore because they think it needed the combo kill to be viable. And so I added Hollow Ones to the deck where the combo slots were before, because Hollow One is a card that doesn't rely on the graveyard. So even if your opponent starts with a Leyline of the Void, you can just play Hollow Ones while playing your usual game, playing Faceless Lootings. Of course, I had to add the Burning Inquiries and the Street Raves because I needed more discard outlets. But that was fine because both cards fuel the graveyard for Hogaak as well. The Inquiry is especially good because it doesn't matter if you draw Hogaak or discard him because you can play it out of the graveyard anyway. So it was a very good synergy between those cards.
All right, so it's like a mixture of two decks. I mean, there was a deck with Hollow One and discarding stuff and some time ago, and now it's like merging two different decks together from a certain point of view with the new Hogaak strategy, let's say. And I see other cards actually that are pretty interesting, and I'd like to talk about Phantasmagorian because this is really, that stands out.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what is this creature doing there? So why did you choose to bring one copy in?
Because after cutting the combo pieces, so the 4 bridges that were obviously banned, and the Altar of Dementia that had no place anymore in the deck, and the Insolent Neonates, I found them to be very bad without the synergy with the bridge. So I had a lot of free slots. And in the end, I had 2 slots left, and I didn't find anything that I really wanted. There's a Crypt Breaker, which is fine, but I opted to play Lava Dart and the Phantasmagorian in my 2 last slots because they are fun off pretty much. But they have very good synergy if all comes together. For example, you can discard Phantasmagorian in first turn to a Looting or Inquiry, and if you still have cards in your hand that you need in your graveyard, which happens quite often, you can just discard them for free, which also enables the Hollow Ones instantly, because you discard 3 for the Phantasmagorian, so Hollow One is 0 mana no matter what. And yeah, it's a fine card to have as a one-off. You mill it randomly while playing your normal game, and sometimes it's pretty good. Sometimes it doesn't do anything, but that's fine. And there's the Lava Darts as the second slot, which also is you just mill it randomly or discard it, and you can shoot a Noble Hierarch or whatever. I actually killed my Eldrazi Tron opponent 2 times with Lava Dart, which was pretty funny.
like the last damage to seal the deal.
That's not the intention of the card, but it happened, so it was pretty fun. Yeah, but just 2 flexible slots that are fine usually.
Okay, excellent. So let's talk about the sideboard a little bit, because you have a sideboard that is also quite interesting. We're talking about 4 Leyline of the Void, 4 Nature's Claim, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Lightning Axe, and 2 Rotting Regizar. I mean, it's very compact. You have, of course, 15 cards like you always have in a sideboard, but it's only 5 entries in the end. So I'd like to know Why this selection of cards?
Well, Leyline of the Void, Dredge is still a deck that people knew about. It's never bad to have 4 Leylines. Also, if there are more Hogaak players, you need it, just need it. For Nature's Claim is because your opponent will bring 4 Leyline of the Void usually. So you need to have the anti-sideboard cards for it. 3 Sword Seizers is just a pretty good card. It hits combo decks pretty hard. It can snipe a sideboard card if you're on the play. Just a solid card overall. The Lightning Axe, of course, you need answers to cards like Scavenging Ooze that you can't Nature's Claim. Or against decks like Infect, they just need their creatures to kill you, so you can slow them down to make way for your combo or your aggro plan. And last but not least, the Regisaurs. They look very odd. They are odd. They are usually too slow for the deck because you want to enable a lot of power turn 2 or 3 and then swing for lethal. And if you just play a non-hasty creature turn 3, that's usually a bit slow. But the one matchup, or maybe 2, I decided to bring them in were for Junt and maybe a Tron, because the games tend to be a little bit slower. You trade resources early game. They maybe keep hands just because of the graveyard hate, so they're not that fast. And if you play a 7-6 on turn 3, that's bigger than everything they have, that's usually good enough.
To close the game.
Yeah, it's just unbeatable, usually, unless they have a removal spell.
Okay. Were there other sideboard choices that you considered, but in the end you didn't include in your sideboard, or you had just a very clear plan? Because I totally understand you wanting 4 Line of the Void or 4 Nature's Claim, because you want to have these cards in your opening hand in the game's post-sideboard.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe adding Assassin's Trophy as an additional card to just destroy sideboard cards from the opponent.
Yeah.
And to play around Chalice of the Void, which completely destroys me. But I was deciding that Junt is more played than Chalice decks, so I rather wanted the Regisaurs, and I just tried to dodge the Chalice matchups.
Okay, so considering what you were expecting in terms of metagame in the qualifier, you said, okay, I can afford the risk. Let's say I can take the risk, and if I stumble on the Chalice deck, tough luck. But yeah, most likely I'm not gonna meet many of those.
That was the idea.
Okay, totally understood. All right. If there isn't anything else that you would like to add, we can start talking about matchups.
Sure.
And the first matchup that we have here in the list is Izzet Phoenix. So first thing I'd like to ask you is favored or unfavored? How do you see this matchup?
It's pretty close. It depends whether they have Thing in the Eyes, which is their best card, because it just bounces your entire board and you spend a lot of resources to build up your board, so that usually is game over. But if they don't have Thing in the Eyes, it usually doesn't matter what they have. Even if they have surgical extractions to slow you down, you usually can raise their Phoenixes and their Drakes if they even play them.
Okay, so key card is Thing in the Eyes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's your enemy number 1.
Yes.
Okay, so what's your strategy, generally speaking, when you are playing games post-sideboard against Izzet Phoenix?
Usually I try to snipe their important cards, like Thing in the Eyes from their hand, or just try to kill it, and that's it.
Okay, so
I just want to raise them and try to handle the thing.
Okay, yeah, just as we said a few seconds ago, Thing in the Eyes, the main objective of your plan post-sideboard. Okay, so let's have a look at the plan, actually, the actual plan. What do you side out first and what do you side in afterwards?
So I side out 1 Phantasmagorian, 1 Lava Dart, 1 Street Rave, 2 Burning Inquiries, and 2 Hollow Ones. Phantasmagorian and Lava Dart are cards that get cut most often, because they are just the fillers. Street Rave also. It's usually you cut a lot of 1 card from your play sets and the fillers, because there's not 1 card that's super bad. 2 Burning Inquiry could also be 3 or 1. Hollow 1 the same. But I opt to board out more Burning Inquiries because it also fuels the Phoenix player's graveyard. They only have really Phoenix that matter, so it's not that bad. And you still need a certain amount of them to fuel your Hollow Ones and your graveyard. So it's a little bit tricky, but that's a solid strategy to take out.
Okay, that's like a sort of like the blueprint is this one.
Yeah.
Then you can adapt.
Yeah,
Depending
exactly.
on what you see in game one, of course.
Yes.
All right, and then what comes in?
In comes 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Leyline of the Void, and 2 Lightning Eggs. So Lightning Eggs, of course, we needed to kill a thing in the ice, most important card for the matchup. 3 Thoughtseizers, because they are a critical mass deck, they need to play a lot of cards to go off. So just taking anything really is pretty good. And if you can Thing the Ice, that's even better. But if you just hit a cantrip and slow them down, that's also very good. And 2 Leyline of the Void, you could play 4, but that would mean you'd have to take out a lot more cards, which you don't really want. So 2 is fine, because if you don't have them, it's okay, you can raise the Phoenixes. If you have them, that's also fine if the Phoenix don't come back.
Yeah, I think that's important. Actually, don't side out too many cards, because
Yeah.
otherwise you can actually somehow damage your main game plan. I mean, you can make it weaker because you don't have too many assets. So yeah, I totally understand you there. Okay, let's talk about another matchup then. Let's talk about a very important matchup now, because considering what happened at Mythic Championship 4, we need to know what to do against Tron.
Yes.
So Tron is the matchup we want to talk about. Generally speaking, favored or unfavored for your deck?
I would say favored before, but the list that the Germans played at the Pro Tour was especially tuned against Hogaak with the Leyline of the Void, which Tron usually didn't play before.
Okay.
So I would say before it was favored, or against Tron decks that don't play Leyline, you're favored. And Tron decks that play them, you're a little bit behind.
Okay, so a little bit, not too difficult, but slightly unfavored,
Yeah.
you would say. Okay. Strategy in the game's post-sideboard, what do you want to do?
I want to raise them. I just want to kill them or establish a board state that kills them before turn 3. Because when they start playing their heavy hitters, it's pretty hard to come through. Wormcoil is a Wormcoil Engine, one of the worst cards, because it blocks everything, kills Hogaak, and gains a lot of life. So you want to dodge that and just want to be as fast as possible.
Yeah, okay, closing the game as fast as possible, not get to the point in which you have these big problems that you have to solve.
Yeah.
Just finish the game before that.
Which is a recurring theme in the deck. You always want to kill pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fast deck anyway, so that's very aggro, very explosive. So this is what you want to do. You want to keep on doing it
Yeah.
until you 5-0 qualifier.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Let's talk in detail about the sideboard plan. So what you board out first and what you board in afterwards.
So I board out 1 Lava Dart, 1 Phantasmagorian, 2 Carrion Feeder, 1 Speed Wave, and 1 Vengevine. Again, that's just cutting a little bit of everything, plus the flag slots. Lava Dart doesn't do a lot. Phantasmagorian is just nice if it works. So yeah, I want the cards that have the most impact. So Carrion Feeder is a little bit slow. It's a good card, but against Tron, you don't have the time to sacrifice Gravecrawlers again and again. So
Okay, makes perfect sense. I mean, you want to just keep what has the major impact and shave where those cards that are not so fast
exactly.
as you want to be. Okay, what comes in?
In come 4 Nature's Claim and 2 Thoughtseize. Nature's Claim, pretty obvious. Tron plays a lot of artifacts anyway, plus their graveyard hate usually is an artifact or the Leyline of the Void. Sometimes they can play Surgical, but that's not a very problematic card for the deck. And the 2 Thoughtseize, you want to hit their 7-drop in case you can't kill fast enough. You just want to snipe their maybe 1-off card in the hand and slow them down.
Okay, makes perfect sense. I mean, it's reflects exactly what you were saying before. I mean, you want to be fast and you want to close the game very fast. Right, next matchup. Let's talk about Jund. So Jund, how do you see that? Is it favored or unfavored?
It's usually pretty favored. It can be hard if they start with a lot of discard into a Scavenging Ooze, which they have main deck. If they take all your fast cards, your enablers, and then drop an Ooze, it's pretty hard to win. But usually you are faster. The time they play the Ooze, you have an Hogaak in play usually, and they can't raise it anymore.
Okay, game 1 should be,
It's slightly favored.
Slightly favored. But what about the game's post-sideboard?
Post sideboard, In addition to the use, they have ley lines, again, like all the decks. So it's a little bit harder, of course. I still think it's fine unless, again, they have a lot of discard in addition to their graveyard hate. That's always tricky. But I'm confident in the matchup. I think it's overall favored. Not pretty favored, but favored.
Okay. So you have a little edge in there.
Yeah.
Games post Sideboard, what do you want to do?
Same as always. I want to play Hogaak turn 2. That's number one priority.
It feels good to do that, right?
Yeah, it's the main plan of the game.
Okay.
Of the deck. Yeah, I just want to put a lot of power onto the board because Junt doesn't have mass removal really. Maybe Damnation sometimes, but it's a 4-drop, so it's way too slow. They have to rely on killing your cards one by one or having a Tarmogoyf that's big enough to block them. So you want to swarm them with a lot of dudes and kill them.
So let's talk about the sideboard plan then. What do you side out and what do you side in?
I start out 1 Gravecrawler, 1 Phantasmagorian, 1 Lava Dart, 1 Vengevine, 1 Burning Inquiry, and 1 Street Wraith. Again, you could just trim some 4-offs, 2 or 3-off. There's not a card that's especially bad against them, so I just cut 1 of everything.
Do we have like the same situation like we had before, that some cards are slower than others, or?
I just feel that the other cards are more important. Like I don't cut a Bloodghast because I think it's slightly stronger than Gravecrawler. I don't cut Hogaak because it's just the best cards in the deck.
Sure, you want to have the chance to play it very early in the game, so yeah you want to have 4 of them.
Pretty much you have just to decide for every matchup which cards are the best, which means you don't want to cut any of them, and then you just cut 1 of the slightly worse cards.
Okay, I see your point. So what comes in?
In come 2 Lightning Axes, 2 Rotting Regisaurs, and 2 Nature's Claim. So the Lightning Axe, of course, as I said earlier, you need them to kill the Scavenging Oozes, or sometimes just a Tarmogoyf that blocks your smaller creatures. The Regisaurs, it's the biggest creature on the battlefield usually, unless they play a really weird build, which grows their Tarmogoyf to even bigger sizes, but that's not normal. And Nature's Claim, I start with 2, because you cannot be sure whether Junt bring in ley lines or Gravedigger's Cages or just surgical extractions and play the use in the surgical, which means you have no targets for the Nature's Claims. So you can start with 2, maybe 0 even, and try to see what they play game 2. So it's not even a must to bring in the 2 Nature's Claims.
Okay.
If you know your opponent, you know what he plays, you can bring 4, but it's fine to bring in 0 or 2.
Yeah.
And then just see.
Okay, so this is actually your blueprint, and then in game 3, if there is a game 3, you can decide slightly different, what to do. Okay, excellent. So we have another matchup, interesting one, Scapeshift. This one is favored or unfavored?
It's pretty favored. It's
Okay.
pretty hard to lose that matchup.
Oh, hard to lose. So you have to really make big mistakes.
Yeah, or they have to be really lucky.
Okay. Strategy. What do you want to do in the game's boss sideboard?
You just want to kill them before they can kill you.
Okay.
They are combo deck, you're an aggro deck. That's how it works.
Yeah.
They have usually just Relic of Progenitors. You have to play around that, but you also have to raise them. So you try to maximize your damage output, keep no hands that is slow. Carrion Feeder, Grind Plan is not good enough. You want to bring Vengevines, Hollow Wands, Hogaak as early as possible.
Okay, so the very important part is playing against a key card like Relic of Progenitors, and also, let's say, maximize your chances with the London Mulligan and go with a hand that is very fast.
Yes.
Okay, just looking for that hand.
Yeah.
That is really important. Okay, excellent. Sideboard plans. What goes out and what goes in?
So we take out 1 Lava Dart, 1 Phantasmagorian, and 1 Street Wraith. Again, the fillers go out, they don't do much here. Street Wraith is probably the weakest card still in the deck, so you can take 1 out. That's it.
Okay, and what goes in?
We bring in a 3 Thoughtseize. We need it just to slow them down. If they only have 1 Rampant Growth effect, for example, you take that, they need a whole another turn to get their extra land. And if they have like Relic of Progenitors already in the main deck, you can also think about a Nature's Claim, because it means they will bring in even more hate from the sideboard. So the Relic alone is usually not enough, but if you see it main deck, there will probably more graveyard hate as well, so you need to fight it a little bit, so you can think about bringing in Nature's Claims as well, depending on what you see.
Yeah, sure. But your blueprint is just 3 Thoughtseize.
Yes.
Just to
Keep it
snatch
simple.
stuff from the hand and make sure they don't get the pieces, and
Yeah.
whilst they struggle, you just attack and beat them.
Yeah, do the same thing as game 1, just disrupt them a little bit. Should be enough.
Okay, all right. Since we are in combo territory, we can talk about another combo deck, Neoform. And, well, first of all, favorite or unfavored this one?
Neoform, well, it's a special candidate because, I mean, theoretically they are favored because they have a turn 1 kill, but that doesn't mean they always have it.
Sure.
So it's close. I would say they are a little bit favored because if you have not your absolutely best draw, you give them like 2 to 3 turns to find their combo, which they are pretty good at. So I'd say they are favored.
How bad it is? Very bad or?
I wouldn't say very bad.
Okay.
Because they can brick. They don't always kill turn 1. And especially my version is much better against them because I play the Burning Inquiries, which can just mess up their hand.
Oh
Because
yeah.
They usually use the mulligan to have a very specific hand because they need a lot of combo pieces. They need the Allosaurus, 2 green cards for the Allosaurus, the fast mana if they want to clear fast, and the Neoform. That's 4 to 5 cards they need to have in their hand. So Burning
Okay.
Inquiry can completely mess them up.
Okay, and you have it main deck. That's actually pretty good. All right, strategy, generally speaking, what do you want to do in the games post the sideboard?
I mulligan to a hand that pretty much puts them on 7 or less life at least turn 3. You can't
Okay.
be slower than that because 7 life means the Grizzlebrand can't be activated to go into the combo. So 13 damage turn 3 is a must.
Okay, very good point. Excellent. And of course, closing the game fast.
Yeah. Also, if you have a lot of Burning Inquiries, you can keep that even if it's not that fast. You can just gamble to mess up them.
Okay, so the other thing is disrupting their plan. So
Yes.
yeah, okay. Burning Inquiry does it. As we said a few seconds ago, perfect card for that. Okay, so what do you side out and what do you side in? Let's look at the cyber plans.
I start out 1 Speed Wraith, 1 Carrion Feeder, and 1 Gravecrawler. Those are the slowest cards. They don't enable the very fast kills, so you don't want them.
Okay, perfect. Makes perfect sense. What comes in?
In come 3 Thoughtseize. It's very good against combo decks, and it's even more good against the deck that needs 4 to 5 specific cards. In addition to the Burning Inquiries, you have a lot of disruption, so that should be enough.
Yeah, okay. So maybe combination of Thoughtseize and afterwards Burning Inquiry just messes their plan completely.
Yes.
And then it's just, the way, is open and you just win the game because the path is carved already.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's change territory here. Let's go on the control route. So blue-white control. It's the, I think, most popular control deck that you have at the moment in Modern. So very, very interesting to know what to do about it. And first of all, favored or unfavored?
It's pretty close. I wouldn't say I'm super favored, but I wouldn't say I'm super unfavored as well. Depends on your hand, a little bit on their hand. But I'd say it's close to 50-50.
Okay, so even, more or less, we'll say. All right. Strategy in the game's post-sideboard. What do you want to do against this archetype?
I, again, want to be very fast. They have a lot of Wrath effects and single target removal that they can reuse with Snapcaster Mage. So you want to, a little bit like Jant, you want to have a big board and kill them fast. Don't get blown out by their key cards. And of course, dodge the rest in peace.
Okay, let's talk about these key cards. I mean, what are you playing around exactly?
So rest in peace on turn 2 is very common. They play 4 of them usually right now. And rest in peace, like Legend of the Void, is one of the best cards against you. So you really want to try to take it away or be faster, establish a board state before it hits the board. Also, the other key cards, Wrath of God effects like Supreme Verdict, Wrath of God. The other one, I forgot the name. Judgment, something with Judgment. It's just another Wrath.
Okay, that's exactly the same thing as the classic Wrath of God.
Yeah, they diversify because of Meta
Judgment's
Image.
Day, probably. I don't know, I'm not sure.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Before the bridge ban, Wrath was fine because you would get a lot of zombie tokens. but now you have to be careful because timely Wrath can definitely slow you down or take you out of the game completely.
Okay. Okay, so that's important to keep in mind. Absolutely. Right, sideboard plans. What do you side out and what do you side in?
I take out one Lava Dart, one Phantasmagorian, one Burning Inquiry, one Street Wraith, one Carrion Feeder, one Gravecrawler, and one Vengevine. Again, I just cut the fillers. I cut a lot of one-offs from my playsets. That's pretty
You
much
have
it.
to make room for certain cards that are really important here.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we're siding out 7 cards.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. And there is, at a certain point you have to sacrifice. Well, this is actually a matchup in which you don't go too fast. Well, you want to close the game as fast as possible, but from their perspective, they want the game to go very long.
Yes.
So it's more important to have certain key cards rather than have 4 of your playset of Vengevine.
Really,
Is that
yes.
your reasoning? Okay.
Yeah, really, because my deck does the same. It doesn't matter if I have like 30 of the same kind of card or 34. It's a lot of creatures. I can cut some of them. I just don't want to take out Hogaak, but the rest is fine to cut. You can also cut Bloodghast because they're a little bit slower than Gravecrawlers, but they come back out of graveyard. It doesn't really matter what you cut, just don't cut Hogaak.
But it's important to cut these cards because there are some cards you want to bring in.
Definitely,
So let's
yeah.
talk about those because those are the cards that make sure that you actually can execute your game plan, right?
Yeah. I bring in 4 Nature's Claim and 3 Thoughtseizes. Nature's Claim, I said earlier, they have Rest in Peace. They have 4 of them probably, and maybe more cards like Relic of Progenitors. You really want to kill those cards because if they stick onto the board, usually you can win games, but not against control, because if they stick a hate piece and then play a Wrath of God effect, you are just done. There's no chance to come back.
So you know at that point that the game is over. They
Usually,
won.
yes.
Okay.
Like 95% of the time.
Okay.
And for the same reason, the Thoughtseizes come in. They want to take the Rest in Peace before it hits the board. They want to take the Wrath if there's already a Rest in Peace in play. There's just a lot of really good cards in the control decks against you, so you want to answer them as easy as possible.
Yeah, you need those answers, right?
I
You
need
need
them,
those
yes.
answers, otherwise you can't execute your game plan, you can't win.
Yeah, if I'm on the play, maybe I can cut Nature's Claims because Rest in Peace is a 2-drop, which is funny enough, pretty slow. But at least on the play, you really need those cards.
Okay. Right, we have another matchup here, the last one for this episode. Humans, another deck that is always around, solid, tier 1. Favored or unfavored for you?
I think it's also a very close matchup because Reflector Mage is a pretty good card against you. You spend a lot of resources to get Hogaak into play, and if they bounce it, you have exiled your graveyard. You have to wait a turn to get Hogaak back into play. Reflector Mage is probably the worst card they can have. Without it, it's still not that easy. They have Champion of the Parish. They can really make a board state that's almost as big as yours and just buy time until they find that Reflector Mage. I'd say it's close. Maybe they are favored. I think it depends on who's on the play. On the play is a huge advantage in this matchup.
Okay, so that counts. Who's going to start has a huge advantage.
Yes.
Okay. Strategy-wise, what do you want to do in the games post-Sideboard?
I want to have just a bigger board than them and dodge the Reflector Mage, but you have not really a lot of options to do so. So you have to get a little bit lucky and just build a bigger board than them and be faster.
Okay. You want to assume a sort of control role as well? Make sure you have some answers to their creatures, or?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of answers, but
Yeah.
of course I really want them. So it's not like a control role. It's more like just be bigger and be stronger.
Okay. Right. Let's get into details then with the sideboard plans. What you side out and what you side in.
I take out 1 Phantasmagorian and 1 Hollow One. Not more. Don't have a lot of cards to bring in, so I just take those 2 out. Hollow One instead of Lava Dart this time, because Lava Dart's actually good. And Hollow One is a card, if it gets bounced, it doesn't come back usually. And also a 4/4 is not that big. Doesn't kill everything they have after turn 3 or 4. You can cut one of them.
Yeah, okay, makes perfect sense. You want to have all the possible removals, you want to have them in the deck. I mean,
Yeah.
so it makes sense to ship one hollow one away. Then what do you bring in?
I bring in the 2 Lightning Axes. That's unfortunately the only 2 cards I have for the matchup, but they are good enough. They can kill Champion of the Parish in the early game, reduce their board, but that's it.
Okay, well, that's what you have, so
Yeah.
that will do. I mean, you have to make it work.
Yeah. Usually the Regisaur would be a good card, but again, Reflect Damage really kills that card. It's not very useful anymore.
So you prefer just to go like this?
Yeah.
Keep your deck compact and
Be bigger
add
and
in a
snipe
couple
their
of
key card.
add in just a couple of more answers and try what you say. Try to go big, go wide, and overwhelm them in the end.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. That was the last matchup we wanted to talk about in this episode. So thank you very much, Julian, for joining me here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely a pleasure. And a big thank you to all of you who've been watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you want to follow us on social media, you find all the information you need in the description of this video. All right, everybody, have a great time casting your favorite spells. And for now, it's goodbye.